Ever since the merger between Paramount and SkyDance went through at the tail end of July, they have been spending money like drunken sailors. And honestly, it's really signaling a shift in their and entertainment at large's direction, full stop. Now, they're definitely at the tip of this spear, but we'll have to see how everybody else is going to comport themselves in the aftermath because, well, they're the ones out there, with the hot pen and the checkbook. If this ends up working out for them, you're going to see, Warner Brothers, who is equally in such a trepidatious position, but they're at least positioned not too dissimilar. There are similarities between the Paramount situation and the Warner Brothers situation because Warner Brothers has the IPs and they have the franchises to get out of the funk, the $40 billion funk that they find themselves in right now. And with all the other, avenues to make money, there are different live sports avenues, so they can go ahead and do it. Disney is such a monolith, it might take them a little bit longer to course correct, but there's also going to be, by the time that Disney does anything about this, a sheer lack of talent to gobble up because Paramount, who, kind of has the one guy, one of the most reliable people, and for just the absolute desert of content that there has been in 2025 in the last quarter of the year, Paramount is positioned themselves pretty well when it comes to, dominating streaming charts once again because Taylor Sheridan is coming back with not one, but two of his big hit series, with season 3 of Tulsa King and season 2 of Landman. Tulsa King coming out in the next month or so. And I do believe a Landman is capped to close out the year starting in November and then running through, I think, the holiday season. I think that's the way that stuff works. But yeah, he is a reliable hit maker. And Guy Ritchie, if he can, turn around the second season of Mobland or continue with the high quality for The Gentleman with season 2, Paramount's got themselves quite a roster. When it comes to the theatrical side of life, we'll come back to the streaming side of things here very shortly, but Legendary, who has had a, relationship with Warner Brothers, but I guess they see what Paramount is doing. They're like, yeah, we'd kind of like a piece of that pie because Legendary is in talks for global theatrical output deal with Skydance-owned Paramount. Interesting. There's another big deal that the new David Ellison-led Paramount is working on. Legendary is in talks for a new multi-picture global theatrical distribution deals without China, which, man, I guess they're, totally happy because that one animated film definitely totally 100% made like $2 billion. Trust me, bro. Terms are still being worked out for the Pact, which has been in the works at many levels for a while since the spring. Paramount is expected to have a streaming window for the transactional window built in with Legendary. I hear that as far as the Legendary Paramount slate goes, co-financing is up for discussion, contingent on the projects at hand. What titles will be released, they're still to be determined. Paramount Motion Pictures head Josh Greenstein and Dana Goldberg have a plan to increase the annual output of features to 15 a year. The plan is to eventually ultimately increase to 20 films per year. Legendary currently doesn't have an exclusive theatrical deal with any major studio. Not per se, its MonsterVerse and Dune franchises remain parked at Warner Brothers, yes, as well as the Ryan Reynolds, Jason Momoa live-action animation hybrid movie Animal Friends, which is set for release May 1st, 2026. Also, let's not forget that Warner and Legendary, both lay claim to this year's massive success, a Minecraft movie, which made, $955 million, regrettably worldwide, and the movie is the second highest grossing film behind, the live-action Lilo and Stitch. Boo. There's also an Alejandro G. Inarritu and Tom Cruise movie at Warner Brothers Legendary Business with Warner Brothers, continues. Even with the new Paramount deal, the sources say that there will be more features announced between the two, but we're also hearing, because you can see from the little boxes that are there's another video that I think I did yesterday about the state of Star Wars, but how James Mangold's Dawn of the Jedi movie looks even more in trouble than it has over the recent years because a big Paramount deal snatched him up to do a project for them. Top Gun 3 looks like it could be happening. And then, of course, another big thing for them is bringing back Michael Bay to do a Transformers movie. The world is definitely healing. Now, I remember a time when the Transformers movies were cool and interesting. Well, I say movies, but, the first one was interesting and cool, and the second one was a disaster. But, God, when did the first one come out? 2007 or something like that? So, as somebody who grew up at the tail end of the Transformers, but definitely, you know, the cartoon that was on at the time was Beast Wars. So in all of its glorious, goofy CGI splendor, you know, I have a soft spot for Transformers. You know, for the battle for Cybertron between the Autobots and the Decepticons. I really do like that stuff quite a bit. And honestly, Michael Bay, he gets a bad rap. The guy makes enjoyable movies, and you know what? His Transformers movies, they made a lot of fucking money. Dark of the Moon, for as nonsensical and stupid as that film was, it made over $1 billion. I forget what the box office total for the first Transformers film was, but for the first 3 or 4, they were fairly reliable performers. It wasn't until things got, you know, totally pants on head stupid that, you know, the bloom fell off the Michael Bay rose. But let's also, you know, peel things back a little bit. Like Michael Bay, like in recent years, he's been getting unfavorable comparisons to Zack Snyder, but Michael Bay also made The Rock. Okay, he also made Pain and Gain. He made Armageddon. Like, the guy makes pretty good to decent movies. Armageddon, it's been a while since I've watched it, but I remember it being at least good. It might actually be quite good. And The Rock, well, Zack Snyder doesn't even have anything under his belt that comes close to the quality of that one. Like we talked about it earlier this week, you know, an old man James Bond movie. Well, in fact, one has already been made, and it was actually quite good. And it came from Michael Bay, of all people. So yeah, if he ends up coming back to, you know, Transformers, I mean, you know, it's kind of one of those monkey paw wishes, right? Because we have seen creatives, Russell T. Davies looking squarely at you, come back to a franchise and not really bring their A game. But for whatever reason, Michael Bay has been in somewhat of a director's jail, because, you know, he would come out, he would have like 1 or 2 movies a year. They would be big bombastic blockbusters. But yeah, he hasn't had that kind of a release schedule in a very long time. But blockbuster director Michael Bay is seemingly planning his return to the Transformer franchise for a brand new live-action movie. The filmmaker, yes, helmed the first 5 installments, okay, of the live-action sci-fi franchise with Shia LaBeouf leading the cast in 2007, 2009's Revenge of the Fallen, and 2011's Dark of the Moon. I don't know if I even got around to seeing Dark of the Moon, but Revenge of the Fallen, God, when you had the stupid tow truck balls at the top of a pyramid, it's like, what the fuck are we doing? But yeah, it made a lot of fucking money, okay? According to a new report, Bay pitched a new Transformers movie to Paramount Pictures last year with the intention to return as a hands-on producer and potential director. He has enlisted scribe Jordan Van Dina to write the project's screenplay. Further details about the plot and the characters are still under wraps. Yet since Bay exited the franchise, the live-action movies have been struggling at the box office, as Bay's Transformers Dark of the Moon remains the franchise's highest-grossing movie, with a total worldwide gross of $1.1 billion at the box office. At the moment, Paramount Pictures is currently developing a Transformers and G.I. Joe crossover movie, which it might be something, right? But oh boy. But yes, Bay is best known for his work on blockbuster movies, including Bad Boys movies. Oh, okay, so that's what he's been doing recently, trying to revive the career of a cuck, Armageddon, and the Transformers movies. He is, yes, acknowledged as the fourth most commercially successful director in movie history. That's interesting. It was recently reported that he's collaborated with a Euphoria star Sydney Sweeney on an upcoming live-action film adaptation of Outrun, based on Sega's popular video game series. Outrun and popular hasn't necessarily been a sentence that you could unironically say in about 30 fucking years. Okay. But yeah, Bay is also set to produce the upcoming Skibidi Toilet movie, which I thought I heard was a meme. But we'll have to see what happens there, because I think, yeah, definitely a return to the Transformer franchise, the way that Paramount has thrown around money, especially to somebody who's actually, well, brothers that are not proven at all whatsoever outside of one franchise, which to say is hit and miss would be the overstatement of the century. But the Duffer Brothers, okay, close a 4-year film, TV, and streaming mega deal with Paramount. Yes, set Netflix exit, because the one thing that they have done, okay, Stranger Things, a great first season, a seminal first season, the thing that really put Netflix as a, you know, original content house on the map. I know that there were hits before and, you know, other ones that were coming up at the time, but yeah, Stranger Things was a phenomenon. I didn't get around to watching it. It's not really my cup of tea. But yeah, that first season is still held in high regard. And then the second and third seasons kind of shit the bed tremendously, and season 4 did a lot to repair the damage that had been done in previous years. But now that season 5 is coming out just about a decade after the series kicked off, fucking what? Yeah, it's drawing to a close. They no longer have obligations over at Netflix, so now they're on to bigger and brighter pastures, and it'll be interesting, right? Because yeah, 4-year all-inclusive contract. I mean, if they have the opportunity to turn around multiple projects in that 4-year window, that's going to have a lot to say about Netflix as well, because if they come out and they're just as brilliant as they were for the first or fourth or hopefully fifth season for the Stranger Things fans out there, what does that say about the way that Netflix goes about operating? Because yes, they're the kings of streaming right now, but heavy is the head that wears the crown, because pride goeth before the fall. How many other cliches can I throw into this? But yes, nobody stays on top forever. And what Paramount is assembling over here looks to be a pretty dangerous cohort. Okay, so the new Paramount owned the new Paramount owned by SkyDance, there we go, has made it official with the Stranger Things architects, the Duffer Brothers, and their Upside Down Pictures labels are officially coming over to Melrose Ave lot with a wide-ranging 4-year exclusive deal for feature films, television, and streaming projects. The Duffers, yes, the big plus here is that the Duffers now get to make movies for the big screen. All right. A new deal at Paramount starts at the end of the year. The end of their current deal with Netflix in April of 2026. The end of their Netflix deal, the Duffers will remain involved with Stranger Things and existing projects in development at the OTT service. The multi-Emmy nominated Duffers will write, direct, produce feature films, TV, original series for Paramount Pictures, Paramount Television, and Paramount Direct-to-Consumer. Their Upside Down Pictures production company is led by producing partner and president Hilary Levitt. It's no coincidence that the first big deal under the David Ellison-led Paramount is with the Duffers, as the duo have worked with Cindy Holland, Paramount's chair of direct-to-consumer, and Matt Thunel, president of Paramount Television at Netflix. So yeah, it's a good get, and it definitely has high upside, and especially if you're trying to resurrect a brand from the ashes, because honestly, it's like Paramount, you got a lot of good stuff, okay? You have a lot of good IPs and franchises under your belt, but if you're also trying to build out and make a name for yourself in the streaming space and return to the theaters triumphantly, that would be a great thing as well, and one of your biggest weapons, and if you can somehow find a way to revive it, yeah, it's definitely Star Trek. Okay, at one point in time, a powerhouse in the sci-fi genre, and outside of Doctor Who, probably the most vandalized sci-fi project, because for as bad as things are for Star Wars right now, like they're still in the cultural zeitgeist. And I know that sounds hilarious because Mandalorian and Grogu is going to flop spectacularly, but if they announce that, hey guys, we're doing a sequel trilogy, that will get some attention. But Star Trek has put out a movie. They had a series of television this year. Okay, they just put out a trailer that got ratioed into the ground, but nobody cares about this anymore. And it was a staple of television and the cinema for 50 years, for Christ's sakes. People that were attached to this project, going back to Shatner, they still have name recognition from being a part of this franchise. Patrick Stewart, same thing. They have built their legacy off of being attached to Star Wars. Now, it's either an easy payday in the form of Michelle Yeoh to just simply cash out real quick, or it's a place where people can just simply languish. Paul Giamatti's a bit of an outlier, especially with, Starfleet Academy. How much did they fucking pay you to be a part of that? But according to this, Star Trek now a priority at Skydance-owned Paramount. All right, that's hey man, if you're going to be signing on all of this new talent, you should also take a look at what you have as well and realize that, oh yeah, we should probably get rid of that, but then we should also look at renovating that. It's like buying a brand new house, or at least new to you, okay? Something that's like 10, 15 years old, something like that. You hop in, it's got a fantastic living room, big sprawling open concept, but you got a couple of touch-ups to do maybe in the master bedroom and the ensuite, but the basement, it definitely needs to get renovated. Star Trek is the basement in this example. It could be tremendous. You could turn it into a big old gaming room, but as it sits right now, yeah, there's a few leaky pipes and everything has this weird mothball stench radiating off of it. So with the Paramount merger now finalized, Skydance is making Star Trek great again, at least. Yeah, let's hope so. Following years of subpar content, Dana Goldberg, the now co-chair of Paramount and a chair of Paramount Television, made it clear Star Trek is a priority across the company. Statement came during the new leadership's first press event in Los Angeles, following the studio's high-profile acquisition and reorganization. Notably, as a result of the merger at this event, the newly formed company stock has surged nearly 50%. All right, so we got word via Deadline about Skydance's Star Trek plans. David Ellison's SkyDance has been involved with the franchise since Star Trek Into Darkness. Oh, Jesus Christ. Giving the company over a decade of financial and production ties to the brand. Now, with Ellison as CEO, the newly formed Paramount, a SkyDance corporation, Deadline says Star Trek will be in-house and under direct control. That's fantastic. If that is indeed the case, that means Kurtzman and his secret hideout production company are out when the contract expires next year, per the rumors. And yeah, we've been talking about that, geez, I think since the tail end of last year, when all of the rumors about, Star Trek Discovery potentially being decanonized, and, with the impending merger coming, what does that mean for the long-term viability of Alex Kurtzman? Well, it means that a predecessor of old, and with all of these old faces being reintroduced to IPs, there is another one that looks to be coming in to, rectify the problem that have emerged with the Paramount Kurtzman partnership shepherding the Star Trek IP. Yep, JJ Abrams will produce the next 2 Star Trek movies. Is this a recipe for more fan disappointment? So now he's going to come back and reboot Star Trek again? Are you kidding me? They can't all be victories now, can they? Paramount Pictures has announced the development of 2 new Star Trek films, both under the production umbrella of JJ Abrams, according to a recent Deadline report. One project promises the return of Captain Kirk and his iconic crew, while the other, introduces fresh characters, directed by Tony Haynes of Andor fame. Okay, huh. On the surface, this sounds like a bold expansion for the franchise, but with Abrams at the helm, the architect of the divisive Kelvin timeline movies, and his longtime collaborator Alex Kurtzman looming in the background as a key figure for modern Trek, many fans feel this will deliver more of the action-heavy, lore-bending spectacle that left traditionalists cold for over a decade. Exactly, because I remember all of the hype around the 2009 Star Trek reboot. Oh my god, JJ Abrams, hell, even goofy-ass South Park was saying, oh my god, if you want to reboot a franchise, you need to get JJ Abrams on it. We're trying to reboot the national anthem, guys. We need to go ahead and we need to get JJ Abrams to do that. He's the king of reboots. Yeah, South Park, always edgy, right? But yeah, the guy that has been taking $500 million, that is billions with a B, over at Warner Brothers for the past, 5 years at this point in time, after, torching, wasn't the sole collaborator on this, but destroying the Star Wars cinematic prospects, so much so that not until next year we're getting our first release since Rise of Palpatine in 2019. So yeah, you bring him back. Paramount wants to bring him back to the scene of his first and greatest crime with Star Trek, and you want to consider that making this long-suffering franchise a priority. Oh boy, that is, it's not a first step. It's definitely not a good look, and honestly, I'll be interested to see if this ever actually manifests. Because JJ, well, he's announced and thought long and hard about several projects over these recent years, but not many have manifested. Let's just hope that this is another one of those projects and yet another reboot that never gets off the ground. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.